What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. I want to thank you guys for joining me for another replay battle. Now, today I've got something pretty interesting to show you. It's more of an experiment. Now, as many of you know, I am a big fan of Mad Commander's channel. I love his content. I watch it basically every chance I get. There was a battle on his channel just a few days ago, I think 3 or 4 days ago, pitting Khazad-dum against Rohan in a field battle, and the Khazad-dum dwarves really suffered, and a lot of people had some concerns about that, including Mad Commander himself. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take that same player. DI is going to be rejoining me today as Rohan, using the same build that he used in the previous video, and I'm going to be playing as Khazad-dum with a build that I think is a little bit better tuned for dealing with a cavalry-heavy opponent in the field. Now, let me say this is not intended to be like, haha, you know, look what I can do. It's not meant to put anybody down, especially not Mad Commander, or hurt anybody's feelings. All I'm trying to do is defend my position that I think that Khazad-dum does have the tools that are needed to take on a cavalry-heavy faction in the field, and that's basically all that I'm trying to prove to you today. So there's nothing else to it other than that. So let's take a look at my army comp, and then DIs, and then we'll get into the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, of course, the first army we're going to look at today are the forces of Khazad-dum, and I've got a fairly interesting army composition. I've got 2 units of mercenary cavalry here. I've also upgraded them with, ignore those silly textures, by the way. Their shields are not going to look like that in the end product. But I've got 1 armor and attack upgrade for each of them, and I've also got a single unit of mercenary crossbowmen, who are very important for zoning out units like these Sons of Eorl, for example. And my main line consists of 2 units of Sons of the Fallen and 4 units of 4th Legion Shield Guard. I've also got 3 units of Orc Hunters of Khazad-dum and 1 unit in the back here of 4th Legion Axe Guard. Yeah, they're in the back right here. There they are. And that's going to be where my general's hanging out. Just a cheap kind of melee infantry unit that may come in use. Mostly I just got rid of this. Or I brought this as a bodyguard unit so that I could bring my 3 units of Khazad-dum sentries who are hanging out on my second line right here. And they're going to be really important for defending my back lines. And now, last but certainly not least, we have the centerpiece of my army. This is a Dwarven catapult. And it functions a little bit differently to normal catapults. And I'm going to show you guys just what that looks like in a few moments. But that, I think, does it for my army comp. So let's go ahead and let's see what DI is bringing to the battle today. Across the field from me, we have the forces of DI, who is naturally commanding Rohan. He's got some Riddermark Axemen, some Westfold Red Shields, a unit of Meduseld Guard, who are deadly javelin units. They've also got like 17 attack in melee, and I believe some pretty decent armor values as well, in addition to their 2 HP. So they are definitely a strong supporting bodyguard pick for Rohan. And naturally, he's also brought some Hornburg Guard to give him a little bit of AP on his main line. That's going to help him smack my dwarves around a little bit. And he's also got some Westfold Red Shields as well. I think he's only got the 1 unit of Red Shields, though. No, he's got 2 units of Red Shields, so 2 units of those Elite Axemen. Out in front, he's got some Riddermark Spearmen, a couple units of them who are going to be defending his Riddermark Archers, to the tune of, I think he's got 2 or 3 units. Now, in the back, we have the Pride and Joy of any Rohan army, their cavalry. He's got some Eorlingas here. I think he's got about 3 or so units of Eorlingas, some Sons of Eorl, these deadly knights. Definitely the pride of the Rohan cavalry. They're extremely powerful, especially against other cavalry. He's also got some Link Skirmishers, actually a couple units of Link Skirmishers. 3 units, in fact, of Link Skirmishers. That's a lot of nice AP there. That's going to be a challenge to deal with for my heavily armored dwarves. So I think that does it for the army comps. Let's go ahead. Let's get into the replay. I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, this is where my catapult is going to come into play here at the beginning of the battle. You can see this, and you guys are really going to like, I think, what we've done with the Dwarven catapults. If you guys have seen Pixelated Apollo's video, you know what's coming. But if you haven't, this is going to come as a bit of a surprise to you. So that Rohan army sitting up there is in for a big shock. That scatter shot coming out of the Dwarven catapults is a real scary thing to have to see. Now, you can see that they're not always going to kill on impact. We did hit some of those Westfold Red Shields there, but this is a gambit that the Rohan player can't afford to lose. If I can blow holes in his army before he even gets to me, well, then that's basically going to seal his fate. So now I can make that Rohan player come to me instead of allowing him to dictate the terms of the engagement and me having to sit back and be a little bit more passive. So DI is going to be forced to move forward, and all the while, he's going to be getting peppered down by that Dwarven catapult. Now, it's not going to get too many kills, though it is going to land right there in the middle of a unit of Restfold Red Shields and get a few kills there, but as you can see, it's not totally devastating for having landed in the middle of that unit. And units can actually survive a direct hit from it. If all 3 of those hit, however, the same unit, they will do more damage than your standard catapult. But really, all they do is just kind of increase your ability to deal a little bit of damage instead of no damage on misses and things like that you would do with a normal catapult. So it's a nice trade-off. They do have less ammunition as well, just to balance out the fact that it is easier to get hits with a Dwarven catapult than it is with another catapult. So they do have a little bit less ammunition. I think they cost about 500 or so more, so it's quite an expensive tool to bring, but one that I think is well worth it in this kind of situation. You can just see some of those units being knocked down, possibly even shaving off some of the HP from them. And now DI is, he's going to have to come to me, so I'm reorganizing my cavalry wing right now. I've got my mercenary crossbows a little bit too far forward. I will pull them back eventually, and I've actually swung most of my army around my catapult centerpiece here. I just want to keep that in the center, keep it well protected so that it can do all kinds of damage to the Rohan line. And yeah, just really put the pressure on them before the battle's even begun. You can see DI swinging wide with a fairly healthy contingent here of a Link Skirmisher. I think he's got a couple of Link Skirmishers in there. Actually, all 3 of his Link Skirmishers, and I believe he's got some more cavalry hanging around in there as well, some Lingas to back them up. So he's going for the same kind of surround and pound tactics that I think were used in the previous video, so that is something I'm going to have to be aware of. Now, I've moved in with my pike units and assembled my Dwarven Orc Hunters accordingly, so that I can basically put pressure on his army from whatever angle, and I can actually focus fire because of the overlapping fields of fire in the directions in which most of my archers are facing. Now, DI is going to move in real heavy. Let's go ahead and let's slow it down. Ooh. Let's slow it down there quite a lot so we don't miss anything. He's going to be charging right into the front of my Sons of the Fallen. They're going to take some pretty vicious damage there on the initial approach, and he's just going to follow that up by attacking this one wing of my army. Now, I can't really move the rest of them to engage him and try and surround him, and he knows this because that will just open a massive gap in my lines for his cavalry. So I have to make do with what I've got here and just trust in my stout Dwarven hearts and rock-hard armor to hold the line here long enough for me to do what I need to do. So I'm going to start focusing down some of his more important assets here, like the Medesealed Guard. I want to try and shave off some of their HP, if at all possibly. See, I am getting a little bit of work done there. A few of those units are going to be able to fall. Now, these Riddermark archers and things like that are not going to be very effective against anything but my Khazad sentries. Now, I noticed that he's kind of left his wing open here by swinging, I think, most of his cavalry around to the other end. So I'm going to take advantage of that, move forward with my mercenary cavalry, and try and take a bite here out of these Riddermark archers, and maybe get him to bring some of that cavalry back over to this end, because I don't want all of it focused on one side. I do not have the mounted strength to deal with the entirety of the Rohan cavalry wing with just a couple of units of mercenaries. So I want to try and put some pressure on him, get him to bring a few of his units back, and it looks like I am going to be successful in doing that. He's coming back now with a unit of his Sons of Ayorl. So now one of his more important cavalry units are going to be elsewhere. This is where I think I'd make a big mistake. Now, my mercenary crossbows, this would be a great time to get them into action, get them over here in this little pocket in the corner, and try and put a little bit of enfilading fire into the Sons of Ayorl. So I am actually missing an opportunity here to use my crossbows to their full effect. But I am actually using my catapult pretty well. You can see those Hornburg Guard taking a big hit there. I noticed that they were kind of facing the wrong direction, and I was going to be able to get some nice hits on them. So I'm going to take advantage of that at the very least, and yeah, put some nice pressure there on the Hornburg Guard and kill a few of them. And now DI is going to have to move forward. Westfold Red Shields now taking the brunt of my Khazad Orc Hunters, and he's going to have to move forward or risk losing those units. So this catapult right now is a big boon for me. Now, this is where the catastrophic failure sets in. I've got my mercenary crossbows here, but I wasn't really paying attention to them, and I tried to get them out of there at the last minute, but they're going to take a big javelin volley to the face and then get charged down by the Link Skirmishers. I think there's some Lingas mixed in there as well. So I'm going to try and spring into action here and make the most out of this awful situation now that I have all of these Rohan units in the back. So I'm going to come in for a nice pincer here with my 2 units of mercenary cavalry, and we're going to be able to surround this large brick of Link Skirmishers. And they are going to try and disengage there, but they are going to get tied up by the timely intervention of my mercenary cavalry, and that's going to bring my other mercenary cavalry into their rear and their flank. Big charge there. These melee cav are going to do some serious work against those skirmishers. But of course, now all my cavalry is tied up, and that does offer DIs a pretty unique opportunity here to use his airlingas to great effect. But I have definitely seen this coming. And this is why my sentries are in my back line. So I've got a lot of pikemen back here that I can use to be a real big problem for his cavalry. Now, this is a big mistake on my part. I left a large section of this open, and I can see those the Sons of Eorl rather, coming around on my flank. And my sentries of Khazad-dum have taken quite a beating so far from that massed volley fire from those Riddermark archers. So I'm just going to start to pull those guys back, try and seal this gap here. Now my Khazad Orc Hunters are doing real well against the Riddermark archers. They have a lot of armor. They've stood up so far quite well to that relentless volley fire on the end of the Riddermark archers. But if those Sons of Eorls get in there, ooh, that is going to hurt. And you can see them already bearing down on that unit. So I'm going to try and bring my Khazad sentries in at the same time, also bringing in another unit of my Khazad sentries to try and close this gap and maybe catch the Sons of Eorl in a bit of a pincer movement. Now over on this, and you can see my mercenary cavalry have been successful in slaughtering a large number of the Rohirrim. So I'm going to give chase here with my melee cav, keep the pressure on, and try and just keep these skirmishers away from the rest of my line, and maybe even get him to commit some of his Aerlingas to the fight as well. And just tie up as much of the Rohan resources as I possibly can. But I do still have some reserves here to deal with the Aerlingas if they do decide to ignore that fight between the skirmishers and my cavalry. And yeah, I'm going to start to reform here with my Khazad sentries and my 3rd Legion and things like that in order to deal with those Aerlingas as they move in. Now, I tried to sandwich those Sons of Eorl, but unfortunately, tricksy bastards that they are, they managed to scoot out of there, having only taken light casualties. I think only one of them fell on that approach. Now, over on this end, the infantry fight going pretty well for me. 4th Legion standing up reasonably well to the Westfold Red Shields, who are actually taking some enfilading fire from my supporting unit of Khazad Orc Hunters. Now, over here, my Shield Guard are holding the line as well as they can against the Hornburg Guard. But honestly, this is not a fight that they're going to win. But I need them to hold for as long as possible. And over on this side, I am actually losing an infantry fight as well. That other unit of Westfold Red Shields, backed up by the Metacell Guard, really proving to be a big problem for me. But actually, some of the routing Riddermark Spearmen are now coming back from routing as well. But I do still have some reserves here. Still got my Sons of the Fallen. Still got a fresh company of 4th Legion to do with as I will. Now, over on this end, you can see my mercenary cavalry have basically been destroyed. But in return, I have killed pretty well all of his Eorling skirmishers, and yeah, really dealt a serious blow to the skirmish potential of the Rohan cavalry. Some of them managed to escape. There's about 38 of them right there, and some of the Aerlingers have been launching some pretty vicious attacks on my 3rd Legion infantry, for example. I think they might have sniped my general already, but I have made them pay for it a little bit by using my archers wisely as a support unit. Now, at this point, I'm just reforming with my Khazad sentries, trying to do whatever I can to keep my back lines safe. Now, this is definitely a weak point in my line here where these Khazad sentries are, but I do have, I think I've got some more supporting units in there as well, and of course, I've still got my catapult, although I think it's almost out of ammunition at this point. But yeah, over on this end, got a very healthy company of Khazad sentries, another one over there, some more 3rd Legion, some 4th Legion, and of course I got my Sons of the Fallen. So I've got about half my army still intact at this point, and yeah, he's definitely taken some pretty serious casualties at the same time. So now I'm starting to focus fire some of my archers down on the Aerlingas, who are facing the wrong direction, going to get some nice volleys into the rear of that cavalry unit, and even with their 6 armor, they are going to take some serious damage from that, because they don't get their shield bonus when they are facing the opposite direction. Now, over on this side, Link Skirmishers also taking some enfilading fire from my still very healthy Khazad sentries. They've just stood up so well to the Rohan skirmishers that at this point in the battle I still have a very, very significant number of them left over. Now over here, the Link Skirmishers. This is Rohan trying to open up a big hole in my front line. My Khazad sentry is not really up to the task here of standing up to this prolonged missile volley from both ends. So DI is doing a great job here at opening up a weakness in my defenses here. And I can see those Sons of Eorl coming back, and it looks like they're going for my Khazad-dum sentries, and probably also for my catapult as well, though my catapult is out of ammunition, though I don't think DI knows that at this point. So I'm going to put an obstacle in his way. Got my Khazad sentries here, and I'm going to issue a hold order so that they all stop and drop their spears, or at least I'm going to try and get them to drop their spears. Now, I think this was a really decisive micro mistake on the part of DI. He did not see his Sons of Eorl going going straight into my pikes. I think he issued the attack command when there was still a big gap here, and so he didn't end up seeing his knights charging headlong into my pike unit. So this is going to be a decisive blow to Rohan right here. Managed to get real lucky with those Sons of Ayorl. And I'm going to come in from the flank here with my 3rd Legion as well. Try and mop these guys up now that I've dealt up. Ooh. Looks like the enemy general is going to fall here at the same time. But now that I've dealt a decisive blow to Rohan, he's only got a little bit of his cavalry still left in the back. Enough to be a problem, but I do have a lot of spears here. In fact, most of my army are spears aside from my, my 1 general unit of 3rd Legion. But yeah, my Sons of the Fallen moving in over here. And, yeah, looking to keep these guys, these Aerlingas here, zoned out for as long as possible. But that's a really, really big blow, and it's one I think is going to be difficult to recover from. Now, on the infantry fight, actually, hold on, we got a big charge coming in over in the back lines here from the Aerlingas, looking like they're going after my Khazad Orc Hunters. And they are going to connect, but they are also going to run smack dab into the middle of my sentries of Khazad-dum. And I'm going to come in from the rear now with a unit of Sons of the Fallen. We're going to be able to pincer the Rohan cavalry once again here, and that's going to be a really big problem for the Rohan cav. But moving on over to the infantry fight now, start to turn things around against the Hornburg Guard. I've moved in some reinforcements, so my 4th Legion have held them up for as long as they were able to. And at this point in the battle, I'm going to be able to shift some of my reserves in, surround these guys, and beat them down. And hopefully that's going to be the end of one of the more important assets on the Rohan infantry line. Now over here, still got another pocket of 4th Legion spears who have held up real well to these Rohan infantry. Now, these are a lot of AP infantry as well. Westfold red shields and things like that. Very, very deadly against the heavily armored dwarves of Khazad-dum. And they've been winning basically the entire fight, especially with the support from the Meduseld Guard. But that is one thing the 4th Legion can do, and that is hold the line. And they have done it admirably here. So now that we've mostly got the Hornburg Guard here under control, I'm going to be able to move in with another unit of 4th Legion Dwarves. We're going to be able to possibly surround that section of Rohan infantry. Over on this end, you can see the Aerlingas who got pincered are now going to start to flee off the battlefield, but don't worry, they will be back again. Over in this end, some of the Link Skirmishers also fleeing. But this is where DI plays his hidden trump card. And a couple of those shield maidens here. These very deadly axe women who are going to be moving forward and tossing their deadly payloads into my more or less defenseless dwarves. Now, DI managed to snipe my general there with a beautiful charge from his Aorlan cavalry. My poor 3rd Legion, definitely a micro mistake on my end, getting caught out in the open by those Lancers. And yeah, DI is definitely going to reap some serious gains here from that opportunistic charge. That was really nicely done on his end. They managed to pay for it with my general's life. But yeah, you can see some of that Rohan cav now reforming, so this fight is not quite over yet. It's still pretty well dead even in terms of the percentages, and those shield maidens are fast enough that they can basically outrun most of my infantry. Now you can see that they've stopped and they're reforming, getting ready to toss those deadly Franciscas at my dwarves. I'm moving in, basically with all the haste that my tiny dwarven legs can muster to try and shut those ladies down before they can toss their axes. Now, I managed to bait the projectiles a little bit there with my Sons of the Fallen, turning them around at the last moment so they did not take that javelin volley, or that throwing axe volley rather, to the rear. But this time, there is no such trickery that I can play, and they're going to take that volley straight on in the face, and I'm going to lose a pretty decent handful of them right there. But now the ladies are on the run. I'm going to be chasing them down with my Sons of the Fallen and with my my Khazad-dum sentries, trying to do everything that I can to keep these skirmish units zoned out, because they can turn the fight around. I've got most of it pretty well in hand at this point. You can see some of the Rittermark axes have now been committed to the battle. Against my Khazad-dum sentries, however, they are going to fail miserably. And my Khazad-dum sentries are just cutting right through them. You can see some routing over here, more of the Rittermark axes running, and now my my 4th Legion have begun to grind down the Rohan infantry. This kind of prolonged fight, not really the best position for Rohan to be in, and now with all these routing units, the Westfold Red Shields, this very elite unit of marshals, might also begin to flee, which is going to leave the Meduseld Guard on their own to try and hold the line. Over on this end, you can see the Rohan infantry has been surrounded and quite handily defeated by my 4th Legion, and there's still some Rohan cav and such lurking in the distance here. But my main concern here are the shield maidens, and they have devastated my poor unit here of Sons of the Fallen. You can just see the amount of destruction that those 2 units have caused by focus firing them. So I'm just trying to keep them as busy as possible, and yeah, just chasing them down as much as I can with my dwarves here. 3rd Legion, all that remains of my General's Bodyguard unit. They're not going to let these ladies get away. Not going to let all those deaths go unanswered. Over on this end, sentries of Khazad-dum now dropping their pikes into shield wall formation. It's not going to be enough. There's not enough of them at this point really to deal with the shield maidens. But what I do have up my sleeve are some pretty significant numbers of dwarven orc hunters. So I'm going to be able to turn all of my attention around onto the shield maidens. Sons of Aeorl charging into the rear of these guys, and they're going to get themselves skewered for their trouble. Sentries of Khazad-dum just took a big enfilading shot, and followed up by a second one. Really doing a lot of damage to my poor sentries here, although they didn't take too much damage on that one that time. I think it's because of how spread out they are, but they're definitely going to lose that fight against shield maidens. Over on this end, managed to finally trap these ladies with my 3rd Legion infantry, and it says that defeat is a certainty for them. Honestly, there's enough of them here that they will be able to beat the shield maidens in close quarters, and those shield maidens, I think, realize it, and they're going to start to flee away from the axes of my 3rd Legion. More of my 4th Legion now, fresh from their victory over the rest of the Rohan infantry, moving in to the shield maidens. And at this point, victory is pretty well assured on my end. There are still some Medusailed Guard, and they're just doing some serious work against my sentries of Khazad-dum, but I've got enough numbers here that I will eventually be able to catch these guys. Ooh, some nasty volleys there right into the front of them. Not even all that many of them, but I still managed to scythe through, I think, about 6 or so of my infantry. One final volley there, going to claim the lives of more of my Khazad-dum spearmen. Ooh, quite a lot there, very surprising. But ultimately, the sentries of Khazad-dum going to be able to catch these guys, and in a straight fight with pikes, even the Medusailed Guard do not have what it takes to beat these dwarven pikes head on. Especially not with some 4th Legion, a lot of 4th Legion reinforcements coming in to surround those guys. So I think at this point we've managed to rout at least some of the shield maidens. Or no, that one unit is trying to flee. This one actually broke, but has now come back. So they've reformed. DI is going to be able to turn them around and do some serious damage to the back of my 3rd Legion if I'm not careful here. So this is really a matter of not overcommitting. So I've managed to break these units of shield maidens. I'm going to run them down with one of my units, but I'm also going to send a unit of 4th Legion shield guard towards them, try and catch them out, hopefully get in there before they manage to toss those axes, but I don't think we're going to be fast enough. Oh, they're going to toss them right over the heads into my 3rd Legion. 3rd Legion going to take it on the chin and lose about half the unit there, but luckily they've got some support. 4th Legion going to tie those ladies down. One final volley there into the reinforcements of the 4th Legion, the 3rd Legion, cutting down many of my dwarves. But ultimately, the shield maidens are going to find themselves overmatched in close quarters against a fairly substantial number of Legion infantry. Over on this side, I think we've basically cleaned out all that remains of Rohan. The Medusailed Guard have now fallen. I've still got a fairly healthy number of troops left over. I've got my catapult crew and things like that, which I'm using to run down some of the routing units, make sure they don't come back this time. And that is going to be a fairly narrow victory there over the forces of Rohan. So let's go ahead and let's fast forward just a little bit here. I think this is really the last kind of engagement. Somehow these guys have started, or these ladies rather, have started to turn this fight around and are doing real well against the 4th Legion. But I got some more reinforcements moving in, or counters of Khazad-dum as well. And ultimately, the weight of numbers and the loss of so many of their comrades is going to dishearten the shield maidens, and they are going to be forced to flee. And that's going to be the end of the battle. Now, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. Again, I want to reiterate, this is not to tweak anybody's nose. This is just me as one of the stat developers saying that, yeah, you struggled with a battle, and, you know, if you have that sort of army, then it can be a problem, but there is a way to deal with them. And, again, this is just in the interest of making the mod better. It's not supposed to be... I'm not trying to be rude, basically. But in any case, hope you guys enjoyed this battle. I got another scenario coming out. It's going to be a 3v4 done by Son of the Dark Cloud, especially for my channel, which I am really excited to show you guys. So, yeah, keep your eyes out for that later today, and I'll see you guys later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!